Warning, the following podcast contains adult language, themes, and situations. Also, the film we're about to talk about is going to be spoiled thoroughly. Listener discretion is advised. Enjoy this show.
Laura Dern and Nicolas Cage had amazing chemistry, both on and off screen, for Wild at Heart. So David Lynch decided to use that lightning in a bottle to set the stage for a little avant-garde concert film he had planned with the sadly recently departed Twin Peaks actress/musician Julee Cruise. So without further ado, let's dive briefly into the delightfully weird 1990 concert film, Industrial Symphony No. 1, The Dream of the Brokenhearted.
Okay, let's run.
I'm like a prickly pear.
What do you say we cut the chit-chat? A-hole! Porker! How did you burn? How did you burn? How did you burn?
Hey, have you ever been dragged to the sidewalk and beat until you
Pissed blood!
Welcome to One Cage at a Time, the show where we break down every single Nicolas Cage movie, one film at a time. Here are your hosts, Patrick, Vince, and Nigel. It's time for the main event. Time to break down the film one scene at a time.
All right, I know what you're thinking. Are they really doing a full episode on that weird-ass concert film that only features Nic Cage for like a minute, maybe two? No, we're just going to briefly talk about his one scene, and then I'll just kind of briefly summarize the rest of the film. So this should be like the shortest One Cage at a Time episode that we ever do. Since I didn't want to like create an entire like segment for a couple of quick facts, we'll just kind of talk about some of those quickly up front. Apparently this came from David Lynch. Used to do things like this when he was in the Pennsylvania Academy of Fine Arts in Philadelphia. He made a series of complex mosaics in geometric shapes, which he called Industrial Symphonies.
Interesting.
I don't know if this really ties into that, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Kind of like his, I made these weird things, and I want to do some more weird things, but with Julee.
My wife saw like 10 seconds of it and was like, oh, it's one of those, it's art things. It's like, yeah.
I took a whole is it art class in college, and we studied all of these kinds of like avant-garde weird things, you know, like the piss Christ thing. If you've ever seen that, the shark that's like in acrylic, and the toilet with the guy's name signed on it, all that kind of stuff. So yeah. It's an interesting discussion sometimes of like what is art, what isn't art. But I mean, this is cool. It's a concert, you know.
Yeah.
Essentially, really, it's like almost like a play/concert. It was only ever performed twice. Once in New York, which is what we see in the film, and then once in Montreal. Most of the music featured was originally in Lynch's much beloved TV series Twin Peaks, of course, with additional pieces coming from Angelo Badalamenti, as we talked extensively on Wild at Heart about kind of a legendary composer. With most of the songs being featured on Julee Cruise's debut album, Floating into the Night, which actually makes sense because she's floating during almost this entire concert, which she lip syncs in this performance that isn't actually live. The performance also features the small dancing man from another place, from Twin Peaks, a.k.a. Michael J. Anderson, a.k.a. the small person who talked backwards and provided me with years of nightmare fuel as a kid. He like comes out and does the entire opening of the film by himself, which is spellbinding.
Yeah, he's a pretty good actor.
Yeah, he's great, actually. I think he passed too. I didn't look that up.
So
but
too. Yeah,
I'm pretty
sadly,
sure he did too.
Was he had he already passed before the revival? I don't know if he showed up in that or not.
Michael J. Anderson is still alive.
Okay, cool. So he must have been a part of the revival, I would assume.
Mm-hmm.
But all those Twin Peaks people are getting up there, which I know that they lost a few like shortly after they finished shooting the revival, which is kind of cool that they were able to get everybody together before, more people passed. I know a few had already passed, but anyways, yeah. By the way, this was shot by John Schwartzman, Nick's cousin, of course, who we talked about on The Rock, who also shot National Treasure 2. At this point in his career, he had only really shot music videos, so it makes sense that he was the one who was tapped to make this little weird concert film.
Mm-hmm.
Not that there's really a whole lot going on cinematography-wise in this, but, it's interesting that the guy who, won an Oscar or was nominated for an Oscar, I forget, for Seabiscuit was the one who shot this thing. But for our purposes, all we really care about is this opening scene, which leads to the concert. We open with Laura Dern's character, the heartbroken woman, who looks, sounds, and acts just like Lula from Wild at Heart, on the phone with Nicolas Cage's character, Heartbreaker, who looks, sounds, and acts just like Sailor from Wild at Heart. She asks where he is, and he says he's taken off because he can't do it no more. She asks what he can't do, already knowing the answer, and he says, I guess I'm saying goodbye is what I'm doing. And she's devastated. She tearfully asks, are you saying you don't love me no more? And I feel like I'm Michael J. Anderson right now. And he struggles to find the words to say what he really wants to say. He tells her he's got to go. And she asks if he's joking. He says, there ain't nothing wrong with you. It's just us I can't handle. Which this whole scene just feels like it was like something cut from Wild at Heart. Mm-hmm. Like maybe he called her from the jail, and this maybe was like the original ending, because we talked about in our Wild at Heart episode that the book ends with them breaking up. So maybe this was the breakup. I don't know. Maybe they filmed it just in case the studio wanted it or something. I don't know. It's just weird that they act exactly the same as they did in Wild at Heart. And it kind of looks like the jail scene from Wild at Heart when Nick's on the phone. So, I don't know.
Yeah, so it's like an alternate version when he breaks up with her from prison.
Yeah. And then he causes her to have an aneurysm or something, and she goes into this whole concert weird imagery afterwards. He says, I'm saying goodbye. And she tells him not to say it and not to go, but he says, I can't do it no more. I gotta go. That's basically what it is. It's just him saying, I gotta go, over and over, and her trying to talk him out of it. He hangs up the phone, and she looks devastated and sobs as she hangs up the phone, and we fade to black. That's the whole scene and their character's entire appearance in this film. The next 47 minutes / the actual point of this film are the heartbroken woman's subconscious feelings of no longer having the heartbreaker in her life. Nic Cage left our lives. I think we'd feel the same. So I'll very quickly try to summarize this Lynchian fever dream. The film is presented like a stage play of sorts, which starts with Ions by Tool, if I'm not mistaken. With some flashing lightning over the set that looks like something out of like a 90s Nine Inch Nails video, which David Lynch has directed a few music videos for Nine Inch Nails.
It's industrial.
Yeah. Yep. Makes sense. It would be cool to see Trent Reznor and David Lynch get together and do Industrial Symphony No. 2. Which Trent Reznor shows up in the new Twin Peaks and performs in a club or something. I haven't watched it yet, but I saw just that little clip. So, yeah, maybe he's the new Julee Cruise.
Yeah.
There are... go ahead.
As I say, strap him to a harness and hang him around the stage so he can...
Just like in the Closer.
Yeah, sing Closer. I did too. Damn it.
The Closer video. I went to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and they had that like strap that he was attached to, and they had like a dummy of him in the clothes just twirling around from the ceiling. It was cool. Anyways, there's power lines, big smokestack, an old car, a gurney with a body on it, etc. on the stage. We see Julee Cruise show up on stage playing the broken-hearted woman's dream self. So she's Laura Dern in this, whatever this reality is. She sings a song about being heartbroken, as you'd expect, while a topless woman in a cage and some dude in a suit float up and down, seemingly falling over and over again. I'm guessing that the topless woman is supposed to be her, and the falling guy in the suit is Cage's character. I don't know.
Yeah,
The topless woman eventually crawls on a car on the stage for what feels like 20 minutes, and eventually Julee sings another song while floating down from the ceiling about her floating alone in the world. She floats off screen and we cut to the small dancing man from another place using a handsaw to chop a log to the sound of wind or something. I very briefly summarize. This is like 47 minutes worth of stuff, so it's just like running through the beats. Meanwhile, someone searches the car on stage with a flashlight, and eventually he sees the little guy who runs off for a second before returning with a skateboard with a light bulb on it. Why not?
Dragging it behind him.
Yeah, just like, I don't know what that symbolizes. I feel like there's a lot of things that may or may not symbolize things in this. Mm-hmm. Julee floats back down and sings a song about crying out in the night for her lover who is missing and life being dark without them. I kind of read, some of the lyrics and stuff and summarized briefly what the songs are about. They all connect to the opening scene. She's heartbroken.
Yeah.
She feels lost in this world without him. Towards the end of the song, we hear some unsettling animal-like screams, and we see Julie's character fall from the ceiling onto the car with a thud. And then some dudes in ski masks and black helmets show up and shine lights over the body. Then on the gurney, which turns out to be some sort of crazy meat monster with antlers and hooves on stilts. It's all sorts of unsettling and horrifying.
It's called the skinned deer in the credits.
The skinned deer.
It looks like a fucking Wendigo.
Looks like Jack Mom.
It does. It dances around for a minute or two, then the topless woman and the guy who was falling earlier run onto the stage, while a voiceover talks about Pinky's bubble egg.
Pinky's bubble egg. Pinky's bubble egg?
Pinky's bubble egg. Maybe like she was hoping to get pregnant, or she is pregnant, or that's what they're talking about. I have no idea, dude. The helmet guys toss the heartbroken woman's body into the trunk of the car, and after searchlights scan the stage set to weird munchkin voices for a bit, the little man tells us about a sad dream, while a guy plays a flute. The little man recites every line of the opening scene verbatim, both sides, while a woman gropes herself next to him. I guess this is supposed to be Laura Dern's character again. I don't know, man. I can't follow it. Helmet guys open the trunk of the car, and Julee sings about wanting her lover back inside her rockin' heart. These songs all make more sense in context in Twin Peaks, I feel like, than they make sense. During the song, her face appears on TV sets around the stage while some woman in a wedding dress, there's like two of them, wedding or ball gown or something. I don't know.
I thought it was just like 50s poodle dresses. or not poodle dress, the like 50s. Yeah, you're like ball gown or prom dresses or something.
Yeah. I guess if you read into it, the wedding dress for some reason made sense because like if we're talking about, you know, the Pinky's bubble egg and the meat monster, maybe that was her like losing a baby and she was like hoping that she got married to this guy and like these are all her imagined, you know, wishes that never came true.
Yeah. The quality of the VHS scan that's been put on YouTube is kind of low, great. So it's hard to tell what exactly they are wearing.
I think there's a laser disc of this somewhere. I'm not sure. You would think it would like accompany Wild at Heart, like maybe they would come together, but I think it was released as a separate thing. Anyways, there's some more girls in cabaret outfits dancing around, and the helmet guys play saxophone. Still following? You guys? Nope. Still here? Then things get real weird. We hear sirens, strobe lights focusing on a little plane in the air. I'm not sure what that represents. Helmet
turned
guys
into a Pink Floyd concert or
pretty much,
Iron Maiden concert.
Helmet guys try and start some big engine that's up on stage. Fire is shooting up out of the stage. Baby dolls hang from the ceiling. Cabaret dancers running around, and eventually Julie's face on the TV with one of those weird Snapchat filters on her face. I think it just looks like, I don't know, like her eyes have been stretched out or something.
Yeah,
kind of unsettling. David Lynch. That's what David Lynch does, man. Then the baby dolls retract and the broken-hearted woman again floats in from the ceiling and she finally sings a song about the world spinning, but she can't feel anything from it because she wants her lover to come back. Then glitter falls from the sky, she floats out of screen, and the curtains fall. And that's it. That's our whole film.
It sounds a lot more coherent when you talk about it in
I was
5 minutes versus a 50-minute performance.
I was going to say, it makes more sense when you read it versus watching it.
Yeah. I mean, it all makes sense. I feel like this is kind of a trope through David Lynch's career, is like they're all very simple stories. But when you add the just utter insanity that he is so great at adding to things, it becomes something entirely different.
Yeah. I think you just have to go with it. Like we talked about with the Wild at Heart thing. You just sort of go along for the ride, and the feelings and the impressions you get from it are probably what you're supposed to get out of it. And that's enough in his artistic presentation.
And for the most part, I think that's true with a lot of his films. Like Lost Highway doesn't make a lick of sense unless you just kind of shut your mind off and just be like, well, it's like a dream, or it's the guy's brain shutting down, or like, I don't know. I've heard all sorts of theories about what the hell that movie's about. And then Blue Velvet takes you on some crazy journeys, and Wild at Heart, of course. I mean, it's just, he's an interesting filmmaker, that's for sure. Worthy of study, which he has been studied a lot. We're not going to like review this thing or do any of the other segments that we normally do, but I just wanted to ask like what you guys thought.
Not really my cup of tea.
Yeah.
It did make me want to watch Twin Peaks, which I've never finished. I've only seen, I think, the first season, if that. So I looked it up. It's available on streaming.
As I said, the first season is much better than the second season.
Yeah. So now I'm at the point where I don't really remember, like, as much as you can remember from Twin Peaks, which always just feels like a dream anyway. So I kind of have to rewatch it, I think, if I'm going to get into it to watch the second season. But if the first season is better than the second, then rewatching it won't be a bad thing. Yeah. But this does feel like a better companion to Twin Peaks. And a lot of the YouTube comments seem to, on the video that I saw of it, seemed to agree with that. They were saying, this is, rest in peace, Julie. This is a great, companion to Twin Peaks. This is something about the Twin Peaks canon. I don't know. So.
Okay. I don't know how it ties really into Twin Peaks, but I guess because the little dancing man comes in and Julee Cruise is in it.
Well, and then they use Twin Peaks music.
Yeah, and they use Twin Peaks music.
Like the ending or whatever has like the Twin Peaks theme sort of peppered throughout it. It seems like something similar, a motif that's similar to the Twin Peaks theme. And
I feel like that's more just Angelo Badalamenti just doing what he does.
Yeah.
And David Lynch's sensibility on music. Make it dissonant.
There was a YouTube recommends like all kinds of David Lynch stuff now to me because I've watched this and searched for scenes for Wild at Heart before we were able to watch it. And there's like a 10-minute interview that it did with David Lynch and Badalamenti. I can't remember his first name. Talking about Angelo. Talking about, it was like behind the scenes, probably came on the VHS for this Industrial Symphony. And they said they only had like a day and a half to rehearse it before their first live show. And so how challenging that was as a production. Like it's a pretty in-depth production for being less than an hour, but there's a lot of moving parts literally in it. And yeah, he said that they had a day and a half of rehearsals before their first audience in, I guess it was New York.
Yeah.
So that's pretty crazy.
Performance that we saw was the New York one, and then they did it again in Montreal. Yeah. Anyways.
I feel like we have more than a day and a half to prep for One Cage at a Time episodes.
Yeah, definitely.
It's David Lynch, so it's going to be weird as fuck. You just got to understand that. But, you know, I enjoy the music. I always like the music from Twin Peaks, but watching it, maybe like Nigel said, because it's such a low quality scan, it kind of takes away some of the visuals. So maybe if I had seen it the way it was meant to be, I'd appreciate it a little bit more. But just again, it's just nonsensical David Lynch stuff. So it's not my cup of tea. But I'm not gonna bash on it because I enjoy the music.
Yeah,
I also think a lot of stage productions don't translate well if they're filmed. Yeah, they're designed to be seen on stage from an audience, you know, in like a 3-dimensional perspective from one location as you sit in an audience, and having multi-camera shots and camera work and stuff, I think detracts from it.
So especially in the scenes where it's like completely black and then it's just lit up by like flashes on the stage.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's multiple things going off at different parts to draw your attention, but a camera can only focus on one thing at a time. And even with edits and cuts back and forth, it's not the same type of experience.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
That's it for this episode of One Cage at a Time. As always, be sure to drop us an email at onecagepodcast@gmail.com to let us know if we missed anything, or hit us up with suggestions to improve the show, comments, compliments, or simply to gush about the legend that is Nicolas Cage, who was in 2 minutes of this thing. We're still talking about it. We're you know, once we committed to saying we're gonna watch Best of Times, we're gonna watch Dark, all of those types of things. It's like, all right, well, we're pot committed. We got to do all of them. I'm not doing History of Swear Words though. That one's where I draw the line. Now we got to do
Any Day But Tuesday.
Yes, never on a Tuesday.
Never on a Tuesday.
Or never on Tuesday. I think.
Although Cage himself said he doesn't.
Tuesday.
Yeah, Cage himself recommended not to watch the whole movie, just watch his part. So maybe we can just do that and summarize it.
I do want to watch the part because I think like Carrie Elwes is in it and Charlie Sheen.
Charlie Sheen's in it. I was trying to find a scene and I found Charlie Sheen's scene.
Yeah,
Sheen scene, and watch
I think we can
and he's only in it for like
summarize it, but like I do want to watch the movie and I want to like kind of dissect some of those other parts. That one also I think is available on YouTube for free.
Yeah,
so
it is.
Yeah. Anyways, in our next episode, we'll be breaking down Nic's only other collaboration with Con Air director Simon West, the 2012 box office bomb Stolen, when the greatest bank robber in America, as he's called in a really forced scene in the movie, gets out of prison. His daughter is kidnapped by his former partner, and he is forced to once again use his unique set of skills to come up with $10 million within 12 hours, or she'll be killed. It's kind of like it's painted as a Taken ripoff, but it's not.
Yeah.
But it's like they wanted you to think it was a Taken ripoff.
Yep.
Like weirdest marketing I've ever seen.
It's one of those films.
Yeah. Oh, it's so bad. Make sure to check it out wherever fine films are sold or on your streaming service of choice. Until then, we'll say goodbye the way we do each and every episode with our Nicolas Cage quote of the film.
Listen,
what is it?
I'm taking off, baby. I can't do it no more.
Thanks for listening to One Cage at a Time. Visit us online at onecageatatime.com or follow us on the social media platform of your choice for more Nicolas Cage goodness. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and if you really like the show, become a member of our Patreon where you can download unedited and ad-free episodes, as well as listen to our follow-up show, Back Into the Cage, where we re-examine each movie to discuss what we missed the first time around, answer listener questions, and wax poetic about the man, the myth, the legend that is Nicolas Cage.
Please don't go.
I can't do it no more. I gotta go.
Please. Please.
Click.